Well, we're a couple of minutes past. I think it's a great time to make a start. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. As you could probably tell, it's just me. Sarah Jones is actually busy this evening with another user group. I'm going to pretend that I'm not jealous that she's with another user group and not with us, but that's absolutely fine. She does a great job with the Manchester AI user group with some other friends of ours as well. So we wish them all the best for their event this evening. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. I'll just kick off very briefly through a couple of slides, and then we'll hand over to our awesome speakers for this evening. So we've covered this before very briefly. We follow the Microsoft Event Code of Conduct. The short version is just be nice. If anyone's got any issues at all, just message me directly and I'll take care of things. But it's always such a nice friendly bunch here, so I'm sure we won't need it. Quite right, Joe. Yeah, do we really wish them all the best if it's a rival event? But actually, yeah, it is a great event, to be fair. Bit of a shameless plug from me. If anyone here is going to the European Power Platform Conference, just give us a thumbs up in Teams if you are going. Oh, Graham, fantastic. Yeah, it'd be good to see you there. Sandra, you're speaking all over the world. Are you going?
No, I have vacation.
Oh, okay. Well, that's as good a reason to not go to a tech event. So yeah, okay, fantastic. But for those who are going, or if you know anyone going, it's going to be the end of June and the start of July. I've been to a couple of EPPCs before, and they're some of my favorites. This one's going to be in Copenhagen. And I've got the honor of speaking with a good friend of mine, Emma Claire Shaw, who some of us, like Di and many others, might know of on the call. We're going to be talking about Copilot Studio governance, things to look out for, and it's something that we're both working with our customers in our day job at the moment, and it's something that we're skilling up massively and working a lot on. So we've come up with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek session here, with, you can see from the movie poster. So yeah, if you're going to go there like Graham, it's going to be awesome. You're going to get to your first one. It's always such a great event, such a big show. Just pop by and say hello when you get there. But the reason we're here tonight, we've got two fantastic speakers, two excellent speakers. So really looking forward to this. First up, we've got People First Power Platform Governance with a fantastic Diane Washbrook. So really looking forward to this. And after that, we've got Heist Mode, Stealing Game UX Patterns for Better Power Apps by the wonderful Sandra Kiel. And I've seen Sandra present before, and it's not to be missed. So please do check both of these out. But first up, if we can give a lot of love over to Di. Di, it's over to you when you want to share your screen, and all the best.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Keith. Okay, I'm just going to share my slides. Right, so hopefully just check in and everyone can see that.
It's just taking a moment for me there.
Okay, so I will wait until I get a thumbs up.
There we go. Good to go.
Looking great. Lovely. Thank you. Thanks very much for the intro, Keith. Good to know about all those events coming up, and I'm very sad I'm not going to make it to Copenhagen, but it looks amazing. Yeah, so my name is Diane Washbrook, and I am the Power Platform Lead at the Office for National Statistics. And yeah, Sandra, good news is you're going to get a lot of Lego for me. It is my favourite theme. Yeah, so I work at ONS, but I'm also one of the co-founders of the cross-government low-code community. So we are open to anyone in the public sector who is using low-code technologies. Most of our members are using Power Platform, and we've now got over 1,000 members across 100 public sector organisations. So this evening, I want to share with you what I've learned so far from setting up our Power Platform Centre of Enablement here in ONS. So this won't be at all a technical talk, but it's more focused on why I think language, communication and culture are so important to embedding governance and also just to Power Platform adoption generally. So I'm just going to start now by telling you a little bit more about myself. So I have been in the civil service for a long time. most of it well, pretty much all of it in ONS, apart from a brief stint at DEFRA, where I got to learn the ropes with the master, Emma Clearshaw. So I actually Googled some notable events from the year that I joined, and it was when Google was founded, which was ironic as I Googled it, and also the year that the film Titanic came out. So just as a quick quiz to get us started, can you guess the year that I started in the civil service? If you want to pop it in the chat or shout out. See if I've got any guesses. Oh, 97, close. That is a close one. Any other takers? 96, we're in the right ballpark. Any more? 2000. Oh, go. I'm going to see if we get any more in. So 95. Yeah, you're all around the right area. It was 1998 was the right answer. So there we go. So you're all pretty near. You all get a prize. Okay. So I've worked in the civil service since 1998, and I've worked in IT for just as long. So I started out as an analyst programmer using something called Ingress, which was all blue screens and function keys. You couldn't even program it to use the mouse. That's how old it was. It was all F5s and F12s. And in fact, it's so old that I wanted to find a screenshot of a typical Ingress screen to show you. And I couldn't really find anything. It's a bit obscure on the internet these days. So here is my lovely artist's impression of an Ingress programmer using the medium of Lego. And it's very true to life, because there's me with my glasses on and my coffee in hand. So, and as you can probably tell already, I'm a big fan of Lego, like I think a lot of people in the Power Platform space. This was originally because of my son. But to be honest, he's kind of moved over to Minecraft now, and he's kind of left me in Legoland. So often it's just, as it shows on the picture here, him on the tablet, me on the floor, building the Lego sets myself. But of course, Lego is also a really useful analogy for low code. So we could often talk about the building blocks for helping people to start building their Power Platform solutions. And I think what you will see in this talk is that we really went to town on the Lego theme at ONS for our Power Platform rollout, and I take full responsibility for that. Okay, I'm also a big fan of governance. And specifically getting governance right. And I think this is because I have been around long enough to see what happens when it goes wrong or when it's not there at all. I've done a lot of work in application support, and you really see the problems that arise when people haven't got governance in at the outset. So you've probably all heard this phrase that people often refer to the early days of Power Platform in a lot of organizations as the Wild West. So I don't know if anyone's had that, where you've got a default full of apps and nobody knows what they're doing. So luckily for us at ONS, that didn't happen. We had our 365 team were quite on the ball. Our default environment was kept quite locked down. But we did have our own Wild West, which was with something called Lotus Notes. So again, another shout out. Is that familiar? I can see Keith sort of smiling a little bit there. So yeah. So that was our Wild West. We had hundreds of Lotus Notes based apps. Some of them were more familiar, but an awful lot of them, we didn't know who owned them or how critical they were. This was like an estate of apps that built up over about 20 years. And this for me was actually my entry point into Power Platform as well, because my team was tasked with rewriting many of those old Notes applications, and we chose Canvas apps with Dataverse backend as our target sort of architecture. And I was the delivery lead on that project. So we had, of course, when we did that project, a lot to learn about Power Platform. We were all new to it, but the real challenge wasn't the technology. It was actually unpicking what those apps actually did, who used them, and were they indeed even still needed. So even though they'd actually been built by our IT teams, it felt to me like those Notes apps had all of the typical attributes of shadow IT. And this posed, I think, a real risk for us. And again, the reason why I'm sort of telling this story and why I think it's relevant to the Power Platform space is because this was why visibility and ownership became so important for us as we started on our Power Platform rollout. We didn't want to get burned by this same problem as we introduced, obviously, and opened up access to Power Platform. Okay. So obviously governance is good, but I feel it can have a little bit of a poor reputation. And I think this is something that we do see in the public sector. When I was first tasked to implement the Power Platform governance model at ONS, I started off by doing a simple exercise with my team, mainly because when I kind of mentioned and got all excited about governance, you could see people take a little step back. So I asked them what words they associated with governance, and these are some of the ones they came up with. So we had committees. We do like a committee in the public sector, filling in forms, bureaucracy, bottlenecks, rules, putting in lots of checkpoints in our delivery processes. Red tape was a nice one at the end to sum it all up. So the overall message, I think, was pretty clear. Governance was seen as absolutely necessary, but also something that could slow things down. And if I'm honest, I had felt that myself on times as a delivery manager, lots of hoops to jump through to get your project done. So I knew that with this new Power Platform governance model, I wasn't starting with a blank page. I was already up against a lot of those negative connotations. So we didn't just need to design the governance, we also needed to change how it felt to people as well. Okay, just to say as well, I've seen a few comments in the chat going through. If anyone does want to jump in, I'm happy to do Q&A at the end as well. But if you do want to jump in and chat along the way, more than happy to do so. Okay, so a little bit then about my role and my new role here at ONS as COE lead. So it was about a year ago I got the green light to roll out Power Platform more widely across ONS. So we had been using Power Platform for about 5 years since we started that notes migration, but we were still pretty risk averse. It was pretty much locked down to our sort of pro developer team. So when we got that green light, I had pitched this idea of a centre enablement, and luckily they picked me for the centre enablement lead. I would have been quite annoyed if they hadn't, to be honest. So to me, this role felt like a balancing act between managing risk, the governance bit, and promoting adoption. And like I said, I was incredibly fortunate because I did spend a year at DEFRA covering for the amazing Emma Clare-Shaw, and that was a real sort of valuable lesson in how you get that balancing act right. You know, that was something that Emma had kind of adopted there and done really, really well. So yeah, it kind of felt like if the governance felt too heavy, the adoption side could suffer. And I think especially because, you know, unlike other products in the 365 stack, like Teams or Outlook, the use of Power Platform is optional, especially for our citizen developers. People can just walk away if it feels too bureaucratic or too hard to get started. So yeah, too much governance will impact your adoption, but obviously too little governance is an option either. So I think the challenge for me became, how do we manage risk properly, but without making the whole thing feel so heavy that nobody wants to get on board? And really for me, although I didn't kind of call it this at the time, this is where this idea of people first governance started to emerge. So we had to do the governance, but we could do it in a different way to how we'd done it previously in our organisation. So we're now 3 months into our office-wide Power Platform rollout at ONS, so it's still relatively early days, but it has been a big learning curve, and these are the lessons so far that I've learned about what it really takes to put that people-first approach into practice. So lesson 1, don't information dump. So when we first set up the Centre of Enablement, I spent the first few months locked away in a little bubble with my team. We were quite a small team, building out our governance model. And I had all these great ideas that I'd taken from Emma and from what I'd seen at DEFRA. Also, I was so lucky to see what other people were building across government as well in this space. So I thought, right, I've got all of this research, amazing. I will build out our own zoned governance model. And obviously we need an environment strategy. We needed to look at DLPs and so on. I wrote a lot of documents. We got all of this information together. And this was because I really wanted to be able to answer those big questions on day one and show that our model was robust and watertight, and show to our senior leaders and security and everyone like that, yeah, we've got this covered. So I guess the thing is, after all of that work, there was just part of me that just wanted to tell everyone everything and go, look at all of this stuff that we've done. We've got it all covered. We've got all the rules. And it felt like, right, if I tell everyone the rules of our governance model, job done. But of course, that then goes straight back to that tension I talked about earlier. If we lead with rules, with definitions and all the detail, for our makers, that's really overwhelming, especially as many of the people we were talking to, they didn't even have the basics yet. They didn't know what a Power App was. And yet here we were going to tell them all of these rules about how to use them. So the lesson here for me was this. We just need to tell people only what they need to know at that particular point in time. So as an example, as we were launching, we've talked about this zoned governance model. We basically had 3 zones, looking at low, medium and high risk solutions. And what we did for our initial launch back in March, we were only launching what we called our productivity zone, which allowed people to build personal and small team solutions. So the rest of the model existed in our heads, but do people need to know about that on day one? We hadn't even built it yet, so why tell people about a thing that's not there? So we took that approach of saying, just tell people what they need to know. And we tried to condense our getting started guidance down to one simple page on our new SharePoint site that we'd set up for our COE team. If people did want more detail, it was there, but it wasn't mandatory. It wasn't in their face. For the people who wanted the detail, they could click the links or indeed come and talk to us about the wider model. We just focused on what we were launching there and then. And I think another good example of how our approach changed, and again, it was a very personal learning for me as well to get away from this information dumping approach, was in our Build Owner Pack. So this was an artifact we created to give to makers to explain what their responsibilities were when they started building, a little bit like the T's and C's. So we wanted to talk to people about providing ongoing support for their solutions, about sharing, about sort of responsible use of data, and then about that ongoing ownership as well. Because again, we didn't want these orphan solutions. We wanted to have each of these Power Platform builds to have an owner, again, avoiding those shadow IT problems of the past. So for me, I think the first draft I did of this Build Owner Pack is an excellent example of information dumping in action. And I will share some screenshots of it now. So there's my lovely front slide, but this is before I got into Lego as my sort of design. So as you can see, we've got lots of introductory slides, lots of context, why governance matters. Then I talked about what a zone is and why they mattered as well. Next slide here, I've got, I'll come on to Make a Gateway, which is a tool we built in a minute, but why did that matter? Why did we need that for governance? And I didn't realize this as we were doing it. And it was only when I started to get some feedback, it was from sort of people, that it was actually slide 17 before I actually got to what we wanted to really say and what people had to do and not do. Not great. And then once you got to the end of that pack, we had a 3-page Word document of terms and conditions, and it pretty much said the same thing all over again. Absolute information dumping. But luckily, we had an early adopter group, and they were very good because they were very vocal and very helpful. And they gave us some timely feedback, and we went, do you know what? This is silly. Let's strip this right back. So we cut that introductory content down to 4 simple slides. We made the language a lot more common sense, and we just focused on those practical responsibilities. So messages like you need to look after your data, you need to look after your users, and importantly, you need to tell us what you're building. So we've got that good visibility within the COE team. And then in the end, we kind of managed a pack where we had one slide per rule, and then it could all be summarized as 8 simple rules at the end. So if nothing else, people just needed to be mindful of these, the ones that I've got on screen here now. So what we're going to do now, because this was very much minimal viable product, is we're now turning this from a slides deck into a more interactive version in an app. And then we want to have like bite-sized videos, more visual content as well. So taking that journey one step further. So I think the real shift for me here was realizing that being thorough and being helpful are not always the same thing. On day one, people just need the minimum information that they need to get going safely. No more than that. We can explain the background to the next part as they move on to the next step of their Power Platform journey. Cool. So that was lesson 1. Lesson 2 is now about language. So if lesson 1 was the content, now we were looking at language and how we say things. So I actually want to stop here and do a little bit of a shout out for Power Platform High Five Group and the influence it had at this stage. And in particular, I think in January there was an excellent session with Janet Robb, and it was great. It was so funny, but it was so insightful as well, called The Curse of Knowledge. I don't know if you remember that one, Keith. It was very memorable. It was a great talk. And for me, this came at just the right time. Yeah, and I would recommend, if anyone hasn't seen it, go back and watch that recording. And the reason why it was the right time is it's around sort of end of January. We were being tasked by our senior leadership to launch this productivity zone that we'd built for Power Platform within the next few weeks. And it was about the fact that, you know, we have all this knowledge, don't we, about Power Platform, and we think we're explaining things in a nice, user-friendly way. But that knowledge sometimes can hold us back because we don't realise how little others know about the service. Probably paraphrasing Janet's talk badly there, but, you know, it is really good. Take a look. So I watched that session. And it was one of those things where the next day I literally deleted pretty much everything I've been working on, because it made me realise that even though I consider myself as quite non-technical these days, I was still using terms that not everyone would understand. And I think however simple you're making things, you can always go further. So this slide is titled Learn to Speak Fluent Janice, which is probably a bit sort of cryptic. So I will explain now what that is. So on screen here, we have got a set of personas that our BA assigned to our project created to help us design our onboarding journey. And I zoned in on a particular persona, which is called Janice. So here's Janice here. Apologies, this was a bit small, but we can share it. Who is our complete beginner, the person who's very technically phobic, very unconfident in what they're doing. And I think we zoned in on this to say, well, is this, you know, the audience that we're going to miss if we are too technical in our language? So around the same time, I was having lots of fun with my new Copilot 365 license, and I realized, and again, I am still quite an amateur prompter, but having lots of fun with it, that I could use prompts to translate messages into Janice-friendly language, something that's more simple and more reassuring. And it's, you know, it's of course not a replacement for real feedback from real people, and we did have that as well. But it was kind of a useful exercise to challenge our own assumptions about what we mean by non-technical language. And it is quite funny now because I can just go into Copilot and say, be more Janice, and it knows exactly what I mean because I've done it that much. And it also meant that on our term, sort of Janice became a useful shorthand term for simple, friendly, common sense and reassuring language. And we thought, well, even though we're talking governance and rules and things like that, we can still use it in the sort of language that says, don't worry, it's not that you've done something wrong. It's just we need to kind of guide you in a certain direction. And that's what we were trying to do. Okay, so another example here, so of how we put this into practice, this lesson around language, was within our Power Platform COE SharePoint site that we built to support the rollout. So using that kind of ethos that I've just mentioned, we tried our best to make the language as simple and as clear as we possibly could. And we focused on making the navigation really intuitive as well. Again, all the key things, we had our getting started page, which is sort of linked somewhere on our homepage, and all the things someone needs on day one, we tried to make accessible in that initial page so you didn't have to go digging for information. Again, no, not everywhere, but certainly in some pockets in the civil service, our internal services and how we talk about them can sometimes feel quite formal and dry. So we deliberately went in a different direction. We used the Lego theme to reinforce that idea of building blocks because it was an analogy we'd worked on in our rollout, but also just to make it feel more approachable, more welcoming. Appreciate it might not be everyone's cup of tea. But I think what we were trying to do is clearly signal that this is something different to what's come before. And we also then tried to keep that tone of that language consistent across everything. So the SharePoint site, newsletters, even like automated emails that we send out from the kind of back end monitoring, we tried to talk in a consistent way. And the goal, I think, for us was to make sure that our governance messages were still clear, but delivered in a way that felt supportive and not at all intimidating. So lesson 3, this is around design, not documentation. So as I think I mentioned earlier, I spent a lot of time documenting the governance model up front, and that was translated into our SharePoint site. We had a lot of detailed back-end documents, lots of strategies, lots of policies, and that obviously absolutely helped us as a team. Because it helped us sort of reassure ourselves the model was robust and that we understood it properly. But when it comes then to makers consuming the governance model, the reality is most people don't actually have the time or the inclination to read through pages of guidance, even if we've done the friendly language, the Lego on the SharePoint site and so on. And the thing that I always think of is like terms and conditions. I can't tell you how many times a day I will want to do something on the internet and it's, accept cookies, terms and conditions. And although we know we should, we all go click, 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 because we just want to get to the service that we want to access. So we knew we couldn't rely on people reading everything, no matter how well written it was. So instead, we needed to build the governance directly into the onboarding journey. So if something's important, it shouldn't just live in a document and we just hope that people read it. It needs to be part of the experience. And that brings us on then to the approach we took with our Maker Gateway. So the Maker Gateway is a Power App that we designed to be our front door for Power Platform access. And we've got a couple of screenshots of it here on screen. In a nutshell, people answer some questions, they register their build, and behind the scenes, we were then assigning that build to a zone, and the dedicated environment is then provisioned for them. So it started off as our solution registration tool, which is probably a concept that's probably familiar to lots of people working in this space, having a registration tool. But as we talked about it, we realized that the name made it sound like something that was for us. It was us in the COE team who wanted registration and not something for the makers. So we felt that Maker Gateway sounded more user-friendly. So we've got the basic version out there up and running, and we have plans to extend the features so it becomes a central hub to help makers manage their build. So rather than something you have to do, people want to use the gateway. It will have all the records of what they've built, where they can access additional services and sort of help through it as well. It was really important to me that the onboarding via the Maker Gateway was self-service, simple and quick. I didn't want people to have to fill in long forms and then wait days or perhaps even weeks for a response, because that's exactly the kind of experience that puts people off. And mindful of what I've said earlier, it is optional. In that meantime, people might have an initial spike of enthusiasm for Power Platform. If they don't get their environment for 3 weeks, they'll get busy with other things. So I set a goal so that the whole process from request to having an environment available should take just a few minutes. And we did achieve that. So I was really pleased that we made that happen. So the app itself, the way it works is fairly simple. It asks those questions about what someone wants to build. It uses the answers to assign the build to the zone, and your zone then determines the type of environment you get. So crucially, people don't need to understand the governance model up front. The rules are built into the questions. So as an example, business criticality is a big part of our zone model. But rather than say, how critical is your app to the business? That's quite an open question. We ask people about what happens when it breaks. And we use that answer to decide, is this a low risk solution? Is it something that needs more support? So we're still applying the governance, but in a way that feels sort of natural and easy to answer. Our gateway, as I said, is also about registration. So it captures that description of the build and who owns it. So we're getting the visibility we need. And it means in the background, we're building up that complete registry of Power Platform builds and avoiding those future shadow IT problems. So with the Maker Gateway, we built governance into the experience. You don't need to understand the rules. You just need to follow the steps on screen. Okay. So my final lesson is called Red Tape to Safety Net. So far, we've talked about content, language and design. This final lesson is about the overall experience. And yeah, thanks for the feedback on the slides. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with Copilot and Lego, I have to say, seeing what I can create. Yeah, so we're talking here about the overall experience. So for me, what it is really is about feelings, which is something we don't often, certainly in the past, we didn't talk about in IT. How do people feel about this service? We tend to focus more on, does it work or not? Is it compliant? But yeah, we're really interested in how people feel when they engage with our team and with our governance model. And actually, if we've got it right, they shouldn't really notice that governance model is there at all. And yes, I am worried I'm going to get sued by Lego, which is probably just as well I'm not going to Copenhagen, because they probably impound me there for the misuse of Lego. So this ethos of moving from red tape to safety net, I think, like I said, it is an ethos, this kind of thing of how we abstract away from the governance that we do see nowadays in a lot of public sector digital services. So, as an example, if you're renewing your passport and so on, we all know behind the scenes there's a huge number of policies, rules, checks that we need to adhere to. But for the user of that service, if it's designed well, they can just focus on what they're trying to do and just follow a simple guided process. They don't need to know what the rules are up front. And for me, that's the sort of shift that we wanted to make as well. So for this last lesson, I haven't really got an example as I have done for the previous ones, but it's more of an analogy. So again, phase 1 of our rollout, we introduced the productivity zone, and this was for people to create their low risk personal and team builds. But that low risk bit, really, that's ours to manage. That's not for the maker to think, is this thing low risk? We will find that out through our gateway questions, through the controls we've put in place, and also monitoring that we have in the background. What we want for our makers is for them just to bring their ideas, their energy and their enthusiasm. So my analogy here is a soft play or activity centre. If anyone's got kids, I'm sure you go to these a lot, as I do. Sometimes you get some light touch instructions, maybe you have a short guidance video, but fundamentally it's a safe place to just get stuck in and play. And the reason why you can do that is because somebody else has done the hard work to make the environment safe. And I think for me, that's what our COE team is about, is we want to make it safe for people to build without worrying what the rules are. So yeah, that's what we wanted governance to feel like. Not something to be afraid of and get wrong, but something quietly working in the background, keeping things safe while makers get on with their building. Yeah, so coming towards the end now, and so this slide sums up what we've changed along the way. Not the governance model itself. Our zoned model has been sort of relatively static since we started looking at this about a year ago, but we've tried to change the way that people feel about using it. And this is so our makers don't feel overwhelmed, confused, or unsure, but instead clear, confident, and supported. And I think for me, that really matters because often governance doesn't fail because we got the rules wrong. It fails when people avoid it, if they're confused by it, if they work around it. So what we're already seeing at ONS is that people are, coming to us, engaging with us. They're asking questions. They are telling us when their builds are growing and changing, when they feel like maybe they're in the wrong zone, which is great, rather than us having to go and say, sorry, we need to intervene. And I'd like to think that that means that they're starting to view us as partners in the build process and not rule enforcers. So for me, changing how governance feels is changing how people behave. And people first governance, it's not about weakening the rules, ignoring risk. It's just factoring in how that governance is communicated, how it's experienced, and ultimately how it feels to people. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. I will refer to Keith to see if we've got any time for questions. And just to say, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. If you're in the public sector, please come and join us at CrossGov Low Code. And also a little shout out for Power Platform User Group Wales, which I'm also involved in, which is meeting next on the 8th of July, if you would like to have a little trip to Cardiff. Okay, thanks all, and back over to you, Keith.
Thanks, Di. That was absolutely brilliant. Really, really good presentation. I love the way you frame it from the maker's point of view as well. So it's like, how can we help you? This is a place for you, a portal for you. And I think getting the messaging right and being approachable is something that you've done really well in only 3 months. Because I remember we spoke months ago about, hey, let's have you deliver a session, but can we make it in a few months' time to see how this has gone? But in your opinion, it's gone successful so far. Lessons learned.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, for me, we've built a lot, in terms of technical foundations in the last 3 months. But the really important, I know we talk a lot about community in the Power Platform space, but the most powerful thing we've done is built the community and that ethos where already, certainly the community members have helped me. They've given really great feedback. We're already seeing makers helping other makers and bringing them on the journey. And like really important for me on the governance side as well, people asking questions. And before I get a chance to answer, other makers are going in and saying, actually, that's not enabled in the DLP. Actually, you need to go through the Maker Gateway for that, which really helps me to do the job. So it's a real community effort. And I think, to be honest, if you've built that, everything else just stems from it. That will kind of underpin your service.
Agreed. I think when you get reactions like that, it feels self-sustaining. You've built an actual community then. So I love that approach. Have you had to do anything to motivate the community other than just get them buzzing about Power Platform, like internal badges or gamification or anything?
It's definitely something we want to look at, Keith. So we're thinking about sort of bringing that in to kind of, especially to reward the people who have been quite active already. So I think that's a really good idea. I think as well, the main lesson and the main feedback we've had so far as well is people relate to stories. So they want to hear about what people have built. And I think also personal journeys as well. So we had, for example, I think might have talked to you guys as well, a lady called Heather O'Grady who's got a really interesting story, who started out as a midwife and sort of came into a career in Power Platform. And I think it is seeing the apps you can build and the flows, but also seeing a person who you can connect with and go, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I think for me that has been a big motivating factor, and I think just consistency. I think you have to keep the community going, lots of events, and just be chatting all the time and just bringing in new things to spark ideas.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you again. Heather O'Grady did a really good new speaker session for about 15 minutes for us before. So I'll share the link from the YouTube upload. But yeah, as you say, another great example of a career switcher, someone starting this journey in Power Platform and low code and really just knocking out the park as well. So thanks, Di. I've kind of monopolized it. Has anyone else got any questions or anything they want to raise while Di's here? We've got plenty of love in the chat for your session, by the way, Di. So
Lovely, thank you. I'll have a look through in a moment. Yeah. Hi,
good
Graham.
stuff. Hi, Graham.
Hey, Diane. So I'm interested in what changes you made to the kind of solution registration, other than the kind of name, when you kind of started in ONS after DEFRA, and were there big lessons that you brought from DEFRA that influenced what you did differently?
Yes, definitely. So I think with the Maker Gateway, we did build it from scratch, based around our governance model. So lessons from DEFRA, because I know DEFRA started out with user numbers being part of their model for Power Apps, and it's a really useful tool because it's something concrete. But when I was covering for Emma's role for a time, having a conversation with somebody who, say, for example, I think the lower threshold was like 25 for a small app, and they get to use a 26, and then you have to kind of explain to them why that extra user mattered. It's fairly artificial. So although we will be monitoring numbers, I think the main thing we took is that it's that business criticality piece is at the core of what we do. The other bit we brought in as well, being obviously Office for National Statistics, our day job is data, is working closely with our data governance teams and say, well, actually, if we've got so we've got questions, for example, about data protection, and if you need to create sort of go through the DPIA process, we've got questions about the kind of data asset. So we're going to do more in that space. Just thinking about, well, what does it mean if you've got your app might be quite simple, but what if this is a really important data set that you're bringing into Dataverse? So yeah, but like I said, yeah, the lesson of actually seeing this in practice at DEFRA was great, and I know they're doing great. And again, you can probably comment on this as well, Keith. Is the model is evolving more now, and I think we're all watching very carefully how the departments that have been doing this for a number of years are evolving their models, and of course they're bringing in the agentic governance as well. So it's really interesting times.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Graham.
Yeah, really good. And just time for a final question in the chat there from Joe. Diane, how do you feel about the end of the COE toolkit?
It's an interesting one. I think, funny enough, this is what I've been focusing on today, and talking to people about that. So obviously, it's been such a crucial part of the governance model, and I think there was an initial bit of shock and concern around it. But we're now seeing the opportunity. So we're already working with our 365 team to say, already we needed to start thinking about bringing in the agentic governance anyway. How can we now take, because again, it was a starter kit, wasn't it? It was always something. And again, I know Emma at DEFRA did a great job adapting what was there and tailoring it to their needs. So I think there's an opportunity there now that we can sort of build in that monitoring, so it is more focused on our particular models. And we're very keen now to link that back end data that was in the starter kit that's in the admin center with our Maker Gateway. Because for me, the Maker Gateway says this is what somebody intended to build, and all of that back end data tells them what they did actually to build, and there's power in linking the two. So yeah, we're kind of getting quite excited now about what we could build. We need to bring in the agentic governance as well, because I think ONS, like many departments, is moving very fast in this space. And I think we're seeing, like I said, the great thing with the cross-gov community is it gives me great user research, and I can see what others are building as well. And we've got, I think, big ambitions as well to share what we do, because we've all actually got the same challenges when it comes to replacing the starter kit. And a little shout out before I finish then, Keith, a big project for us is we're trying to launch a cross-government repo. And to me, and it will be about sharing components, templates, business solutions. But a really great thing we can share is that if one department comes up with a good idea of, right, this is something we can do to replace the starter kit, there is great scope for use. So I think it's going to be a challenge, but also I think quite exciting, because I think it gives us the opportunity to build bigger and better.
Yeah, I love that. Another way of bringing more community together, and been a big fan of the cross-government low-code community, and I've been lucky enough to speak to them. I think speak for them about 3 or 4 times. It's a great community that we've got there.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
thanks, Keith. Cool.
Well, lovely. Thanks, Di. That was
Thank you.
absolutely brilliant. And I love the Lego theme, love the slides, love the messaging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
much.
thanks. Yeah, just please nobody report me to Lego so that I'm sure I'm infringing the copyright somewhere. So let's keep it quiet.
Yeah, that's right. Generic block toy.
Yeah,
But talking of, yeah, there we go. Talking of toys, games and gamification, next up we have the wonderful Sandra Kiel. Really looking forward to this, and I've seen a few versions of what Sandra's done at ESPC and East of England Power Platform Summit as well. So wonderful speaker. Sandra, over to you when you're ready.
Yes. Give me a second. I have only one monitor today.
All good.
Yeah. So I have to find the right. Yeah, I think this is the right one. Perfect.
Looking good.
Yeah, super. Today I want to talk about how you can steal something cool things from games. And the reason for that is that I'm a gamer and I'm a game developer. Stefan, you know me from years ago. I was a SAP consultant, and this is my roots in the past. So during the pandemic, I changed the focus regarding some private features, and I started founding a company. Let me check. Yes, start founding a company, and we started to develop games for learning content. And while we are not only working with platforms, with gaming platforms, we are also working with the Microsoft ecosystem. And we designed in the 2020s some gamification events in Microsoft Teams to improve digital events during the pandemic. So all starts with that. Today, we are a company who we have 10 people inside. We have a game developer, game designer, and we have two Microsoft MVPs. One of us, it's me, and my co-founder is also MVP. And we are working together with Microsoft to improve some things in the area of the Power Apps. So that's the small intro. And when I talk about how you can steal things from games, then I always mean the UI and the UX part. Because in business, we don't want to play games, but we want to have the same cool features like games have. And the most important question when we develop a game is what should we develop that people return to our game? And this is the most important question for all games. And it should be the most important question for all business apps, because only when you will come back to a business app, then you give them the attention and work really, really well with them. So one example is when we started with our small company, we don't need a kind of time tracking. Then the government came and says you have to use time tracking. So we decided to use a Power App for the time tracking for the people. And this Power App was so not so good that we decided to think about how we can improve this kind of time tracking app. And this was the beginning of talking about how you can improve also Power Apps. Yeah. So we are a really small audience here. So if you like, you can raise your hand if you are a gamer. 1, 2, 3. If you play games on mobile, you are also a gamer. Okay. Yeah, we are not so many. Normally, I have a lot of people in the audience and all say, yes, yes, I'm a gamer. Yeah. And my first question is, what is your main reason to come back to a game? And the 5 main reasons you will find here in the slide is they are because games are funny. Yeah. People feel progress in games. Yeah. People play together with other people. That's really important for people. I know this. For me, it's the same. It helps to relax, to switch off from the normal working day, and at the end, it feels playing feels good. It is like giving a good feeling about end of the day or whatever. For me, it's also kind of avoiding stress in the evening, coming down, play with my friends, and so it's more a social hangout to talk about any other things and build something during the time. So that's the main reasons for players coming back to games, and this is what we have to bring to apps, to business apps, because what it makes us when we come back to games, it's the word momentum. The momentum word is when you are develop games, this is what you have to, what's your goal? Yeah, give a game momentum. What does it mean? When you have a business app, you have always the problem that you have to push people to use the app. Yeah, do your time tracking, do your project management tracking, do your travel cost management, and so on. So it's always you have to force them. In games, you don't have to force any people to do the game. Yeah, so there is a reason for that, and the reason is the word momentum. Momentum is in games a metric nobody talks about in business, because you see here the different momentum descriptions. Yeah, you have a typical app in business. You have a low momentum. Yeah, you open the app, you have a huge form, you scroll through the form, you look for the right section. Probably you find the right section or you find the right button, and at the end you say, okay, I press any button, hopefully it was the right one, and then you will do it later. Yeah. In games, this is a little bit other. You see, when you open your game, you see the tutorial, you see you have step 1 of 4, you exactly know where you are. You are here at this point in the game. Then you can choose the next level. You have a button which you says, okay, here you have to click, then you get the next one. Yeah. And after clicking, you get response about, yes, you have submit. And now you can start with the next game or the next level. Yeah. And here the situation is you stay because the next step is completely clear for you. So momentum is how easy it feels to stick and keep going with an app or a game. So this is what we have, or what we have to implement in games. Yeah. Business apps are often designed for completion, and if you are a game designer, you know that you have to create a game or you have to design a game for return. Yeah, that's the theory. Now, let's talk about how you can bring this to life. Yeah, and therefore I have 3 levels for you. I cannot see the chat because I see only my screens. If you have any questions, please ping or anything so that I have kind of response or feedback here.
Great stuff. Yeah, I'll call
yes.
them out, Sandra, if I see them. I'll call out any questions if I see them, Sandra.
Yeah, okay. So the level of app experience. I designed this slide. So for me, you have the functional apps, the motivating apps, and the gamified apps. Functional apps are not bad. Functional apps are functional. Yeah, we all design functional apps in business areas. You see so many functional apps, and these apps are good because they are working, they are good for business, they are low friction, and so on, but only functional. What we have to do today, or what we want to do today, is jumping from the functional app side to the motivating app side. But it's not time for the gamified app. I have only a small example at the end, how it looks like if you bring the third level, the gamified level inside, but it is too much for the first step. Yeah, so we start with going from functional to motivating, and later or in another session we can go to the gamified part. The gamified part, I'm really sure you all now know the gamified app, a gamified learning app. One of the most known gamified learning apps is a language app, and it is Duolingo. Yeah, so I think you all know Duolingo. Am I right? Yes, I know.
Oh, yes.
What's your streak in learning a new language? Do you have any streaks? Yeah, any information about zero streak? Hi. Oh, for me the same. I broke my streak for a presentation, so now it's done. I stopped. I learned Chinese. So no, that's a joke. So let's start with if you know Duolingo, you have the North Star. This is not our target for today. Let's start with the motivating part, and at the end we can talk about how it looks like if you have a power app, which looks like kind of a Duolingo. So stop. I have 5 fixes today. I will go through the fixes a little bit fast so that we have time to have a look at a kind of showcase at the end. But it's really important to have a look at these 5 fixes because these are most important fixes. Yeah. So I called them stop the because it's from the game language. You have to stop something and then you have to develop something. So that's the reason why I say, okay, stop the scroll. We start with this stop the scroll, and here we have reduce endless scrolling and surface key interactions. And let's have a look how it looks like in a functional app before we go to the slide, which is really white blank here. You have in normal apps, you have a giant screen and all works, but all feels overwhelming because it's directionless. So you have no feeling about when it comes to an end. There are, for example, we have some forms in different activities during the businesses. And in the past, we are not able to create really cool Microsoft Forms. Now Forms is evolved and we have a lot of possibilities to bring really cool forms inside. But in apps, not. So I'm not sure why, but it is. So let's have a look at, we can do this a little bit better. And here you see we have the same screen or a similar screen. And you see we have chunked steps. In games, we speak about chunks. Yeah. So we have chunked steps. We have in above the app, you will see step 2 of 4. You have a clear focus that you have completed step 1, the basics. You are now in step 2. You have to refine the details or define the details, and then you see, okay, there are 2 steps more, so you can see the end. And you can see the progress and the steps, and that this gives you the feeling that it's not endless. It will come to an end after step 4. And this is much more better for keeping the motivation high to fulfill the work. Then I have the stop the button panic. I love this because I saw so many apps with a lot of buttons, and always the buttons are at the same level. Yeah, I don't know which button should I press, which is much more important than the others. So it feels always risky to press a button because it can be that's the wrong button. So it's really an easy fix. Yeah. Also here you have a refined app, and you see the next step, and this is what really important is. The next primary action is complete details, and if you will see more, then you can click more actions. But now you have a clear path where you have to work on, and not 6 different paths, and you are complete clear. Okay, the next step is complete details. Then stop the lost moment. It's the in the game language we say it's the hood, yeah, and it's a kind of structure of the screen, which it's a little bit similar to stop the scroll, but it has something more. It's about you have a look at this detailed screen and you don't see what you have to do. It's not clear. You have a request info, you have a description, then you can put some radio buttons on or off, and you have the buttons back, more, and next. But there is no kind of breadcrumbs, yeah, and breadcrumbs in game language are really important to bring the users from step to step to step. And how you can fix this in Power Apps? You have a clear navigation. You have orientation, you have the objective, and you have the progress, and you see all in one screen. Yeah. So you have the overview about the project. You see the request. You are in project alpha. You are in the step review, and the next step is you have to submit. And in the review and submit area, you have done the basics, the details. You are now in the attachments, and then you have to continue. So this is a clear hood navigation, which gives you a really good overview about what you have to do and what it's done. So the next one is stop the silent click. And here you see a simple screen, which you can find in a lot of apps. And if you click submit, nothing happens. You don't know if it's done or not. You get no information about it's error or not, or it's confirmed, it's saved or whatever. And there are some really easy, also for me, if, I'm a Power Apps beginner, also for me, I found a lot of possibilities to give feedback. Yeah, feedback about clicking a button. And what we have to do in apps, we have to bring trust to the users, which means that if you click a button, you have to be sure that this was the right action and your data is, for example, saved. And that's really easy to do. You have only one field more, yeah, and this one field more is submitted successfully, or submitting fails or whatever, but you need the feedback because this gives the user a lot of trust about the activity and the status of what the user has done. So stop the silent click. And now we are at the 5th, and this is one of my favorite, and it's really, really hard to find this in apps. It's the error punishment. And also Microsoft doesn't solve this problem, because if you are not logged in, you get the mystify error message, error 404. and it's always the same. We know this now. Yeah, we know that error 404 is you have to log in. Yeah, but there is no more information about you have to log in. It's only error 404. So, and this is a really good example for how it should not be. Yeah. And here you see an upload is failed, and you see the error message, and it's really a punishment because, sorry, I don't know what I have to do here. Yeah, and it can be much more easier if you give the users information about what doesn't work. Yeah, and here you see, okay, upload didn't work. Please check the connection. Yeah, it can be a problem of the connection, and then you can try again, or you can save and exit. On the before the punishment, you have the situation that you are not sure if your progress is saved or not, because there's only the error message. Yeah? So it's really easy to switch from the left side to the right side and do it in this kind of way that users feeling safe, yeah, and know what's happened and not are in the punishment of the last 500 error. So, any questions? No. Then I will give you a short overview about what we have done. We have a friction-heavy UX feels flat. It's silent. It's risky, yeah, overwhelming if you have to scroll and scroll, and you have the punishing. And if you have momentum-friendly UX, it feels guided, structured, it's responsive, and most important, it's finishable. Because if you know, okay, now I am at the end and the work is done, then it's always a better feeling. Yeah. So this is what we talk about when we talk about momentum in games, and we should bring this kind of word, easy word, in business apps to make the work with business apps much more better. So, I missed the EPPS logo. The first level is not delight. The first level is clarity. And this is what I mean when I say let's start to go from the functional to the motivating app, and then later to the gamified app. But we can start with that because we have a little bit time. So we designed our motivating app now. We optimized progress, completion, action, orientation, and feedback. And now we have a clear or a clarity app or a clear app. Users are on the right way. And now we can think about how we can gamify this. Yeah, and when we think about gamification or game thinking, we can add some cool things like purpose, yeah, or rewards. Diane, you talk about rewards, for example, but not only rewards are good. I will give you a short example soon. We have challenges and we have individualization. But let's talk about rewards. Rewards are the most important or the most used gamification part in business. For me, here I'm really interested in about you. You all know Microsoft Learn. Is this correct? Yeah. Do you know how many XP you have in your Microsoft Learn account?
Not the top of my head, but it's big numbers.
Do you know the level which you have?
No, but I'm going to check now. You got me curious.
So yes, but this is the right answer. Yeah, you don't know the XP, you don't know the levels. When you have a game, you always know the XP and the levels. So it's not about XP and levels. It's more about the experience which not only have rewards. It's more about what you can create, what you can do, what you see, what you always remember and where you are proud of it. Yeah, level 13. Yeah, really cool. I'm level 6. I know it.
Nice.
Um,
Congrats.
yeah, it's a small number, so I can, yeah. So that's what we have to consider when we use gamification or game thinking in apps. We cannot pick something from the like from the table, from the buffet. If we talk about gamification, we have to think in a framework. And this framework means that you always have to bring different aspects, not only one aspect in a business app or in an app. Yeah. I have here 4. Normally it's 5, but we included in the motivating part the progress. So we have the progress already. But what we now need is the hero. The hero is a guide character, and it guides you through an app. The best example for that is also Duolingo, because we all know when we play Duolingo, we know there's Duo, and he will also push us in the right direction and say, okay, you have to do your work today until you break your streak. Yeah, this is the hero, and we always know when we see Duo in a newspaper or in YouTube or whatever, we know this is Duo, and it's the hero of the game Duolingo. The second one is the individualization. When we talk about apps, we have always the same starting point. Yeah, you open the app and you see the first screen, and all people who are using this app have the same first screen. But we all have another starting point. We all have different expertise, and we all have different expectations about our work. So what games do is they bring individualization inside. The easiest individualization is the decision start easy, medium, or difficult. Yeah, and then you can figure out what other individualizations can be. For example, roles in the company or goals, what you have to achieve with the app. So there are different possibilities, but individualization is really important. Streaks. Streaks are gambling, but gambling is really cool because it pushes us to do the work. Yeah. So if you use the game mechanic streak, like in Duolingo, it's not only a bad or worse thing, it can be also a good thing. But you have to balance it really good because, streaks can be also a kind of punishment. Yeah, smoking. Yes, and at the end, badges or rewards. Yeah, I talk about Keith. You have a lot of badges in Microsoft Learn. I think these are the most important are with 3 stars, the expert and associate badges.
I have a few. Yeah, there's people that have many more than me, but yeah, I've got a few.
Yeah, and you are really proud about that, or?
Yeah, it's nice. It's an achievement. It shows I know something.
Yes. So these achievements have a different difficulty. Yeah, you have the 900 achievement. It's more the basic, but if you have it, then it's cool. And then you have the expert, and not all people can earn the expert because therefore you need a lot of knowledge. Yeah. And you have to learn in a strategic way. So badges are always really important for business apps as well as for learning apps, as we can see. And they push us to do things which we normally not do. So these 4 things are. Let's have a look at how this looks like in a game or in a Power App. Therefore, I have a demo mode. I have to switch to the Power here. In January, when I came back from the ESBC, I decided to create a kind of showcase. And this is, I think, a level 4 of the showcase. So I started with a really simple app, and now I have a kind of cool showcase how it looks like. This is a mobile power app. Yeah. Yes, yeah. And this is Patch, and Patch is my hero in my Copilot Buddy game. Yeah. And here I have what I said with the HUD, motivating HUD.
Sorry, Sandra, I'm just seeing a screen with demo mode. Did you say
Oh,
there's an app there?
I have to switch to. Yes, I have to share another screen. That's the problem.
Oh, thank you. There we go.
Okay. So, but therefore I have. Yeah. I want to go back. So, yes. So this is the Copilot Buddy app. It's a small mobile-first app. I created it as a showcase. Here's my hero. It's Patch. Yeah, and here I can say continue. It's really easy. In the first step, you see, okay, here I have to choose my individualization. If I say, okay, I'm a navigator or a builder or an analyst, then I see, okay, step 1 of 4, 1 of 3. Then I have to choose my goal, and I have to say, okay, which difficulty I will play the app, the Copilot Buddy app. And I say medium. And now, okay, here's a little bug. I see it. Okay, switch. And now I have my screen about my daily work. So here I can use a cool mechanic from games. I can shuffle through my work, yeah, my quests. And if I find a cool quest, I can say, okay, now I do this quest. I take the Inbox Ninja quest, use Copilot to summarize a long email into 3 bullets and draft a friendly reply. And if I have done this, then I get XP here and 1 more streak. Normally here the app has 24 hours, and then you will come back and can make another quest. In my showcase, the day has 10 seconds. So if I say done, you see the next quest will come in 7, 5, 4, and now the day is over and I get a new quest. And now I can also shuffle. And I can say done, and I have 7 streaks, and here you can see the XP. So I see always the progress. I have my streaks. I have the waiting time, yeah, so makes me curious about the next day. And I have a clear navigation here where I can see what batches I have done. So I've unlocked 2 batches, and I have always 4 batches which are locked. And at the end, I can set up my profile here. Oh, shit, now I have a problem. There is an error. No, it's the punishment example. So you see anything doesn't work. So I get feedback to try again or tweak my request or save and continue. But it's much more nicer and more informative, like the error 500 punish. So I will try again. And now I'm in my profile. I see I can edit my profile, give them an individualization like a photo or another avatar, the display name, I can fix my role, my goal. I can make my individualization as a standard and can give some information about me, can save my changes. And yes, that's it. This is a easy way to showcase how an app can be. For example, in the case of the Copilot adoption path. Okay, now I have to stop screen sharing. and come back to the presentation. I hate when I have only one screen. But yes, I'm in the kitchen. Yeah. Oh, no. Stop. Yeah, we talked about all things. We talked about how it is today, how it can be when you come from the functional app to a more motivating app. And at the end, you have seen the cool thing in a kind of Duolingo style. And for the end, I have a small video. And this video is about badges. And badges are really important for the motivating of the people. And badges and achievements should not be like you have done 5 quests or you have achieved 500 XP or you made it with 1 learning course. Badges have to be like the Minecraft badges. And therefore I have a video for the end of the presentation. And I have to, let me check. I have to include sound so that you can hear what I mean now. So in Minecraft, you have 1 achievement. It's the master achievement. It's hidden. And you can only see this achievement if you have enough skills to do this. So the prerequisite are a lot of other achievements. The prerequisite is also that you understand how Minecraft works. So it's not an achievement which you can do in the beginning of or in the early game mode. So you need a lot of things. You have to think about strategic decisions during Minecraft. And for me, it's the master achievement when I talk about how you should create achievements or badges. And this achievement is called How Did We Get Here? And at the end, you get this achievement if you have all 36 effects at the same time. And that means that you bring all your knowledge together which you have in Minecraft. What this achievement makes really difficult is that some effects only exist for 10 seconds. So if you have to find out how you can use this 10 seconds to improve, to find all effects, then you have to bring it in the right direction. So this is one of my favorite YouTuber. It's a girl, yeah. So I wish you a lot of fun at the end of my presentation and enjoy the video.
Okay, now we drink ominous bottle. Throw the remaining potions. Okay, apple. Trigger that. Trigger that. Running. Break. Eat. Sprinting. Oh my god! Oh my god, I got it! 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 I need to drink milk. Milk. How did we get here? Oh my god, it's here!
Yeah, and this is really funny because if you have users which are so happy about their achievements, then you have done and you have the master level experience for your app development. That's the end.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sandra. That was absolutely brilliant. And I've only played a little Minecraft, but that just, yeah, threw me. I didn't know what was happening there, but it looked amazing.
Yeah. I personally, I work since the last 5 years. I work to get this achievement. I never got it. I'm
Nice.
not experienced enough to get this achievement. It's really hard. It's really hard. And it
It
will be
looks it.
harder and harder from version to version. Yeah. So because
Oh, I see.
new effects and new new ways to get effects. So it's hard. Yeah. It's
I
not
see.
mhm.
A challenge. Great stuff.
It's a
Well,
challenge.
thank you. Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. I love the UI. I just feel a good UI can make a good UX, and that's why I still love good app design. And it's, yeah, some great examples there. As you say, without going too far gamified, in case that's too much for a customer, there's that nice sweet spot in the middle that you found
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much. Any questions for Sandra? Just feel free to raise their hand in Teams or pop it in the chat. Lots of jokes in the chat. Go for it, Graham.
Hey Sandra, I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on why like number like 5, 10, 15, 50, clicks, rewards, sessions, park runs, like why is that so ubiquitous if there's if it's not going to bring people back?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's always when I see power apps or apps in general, and I don't see the end. Yeah, I always think, okay, that's not for me because I don't like forms where I don't see the end. Yeah, so I stop using forms, or I stop helping with forms or anything, feedback forms or anything, and you can create it in an easy way that it works much more better for people. Yeah, it's not about the game; it's only about thinking how games works and steal this a little bit or borrow this. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you
Great
very
stuff.
much.
Well, no more questions. Thank you, Sandra. That was absolutely brilliant. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Some of us have had a full day's work. Some of us, it's the start of the day, or we've had to fit it in with other commitments. So we always appreciate it when you join us.